Hello, September. Hello there, everybody. How's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff. Guess what? I'm still alive. I'm sorry. It's been over 2 weeks since my last video. I always want to say confession there. Anyway, it's been over 2 weeks, and I do apologize for the delay. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. Between allergies and life and weather, recording has been a little bit complicated. So that's really the reason for my absence. I got a cold after we got back from Blacksburg this past weekend. I've had all of the allergy issues. Let's see, on Thursday? Was it? No. I don't even remember. It's just been a whole slew of things as to why I haven't recorded. And so, yeah. So one thing that I do want to address here real quickly, yes, my shirt does say stick it in. In fact, it says stick it in 3 times. It is it's an old Virginia Tech chant. Highly suggest you look it up on YouTube. I might even see if I can find a link below. It is a chant that's no longer a part of our repertoire, I guess. But it's one of my old favorites. So anyway, so I'm wearing my Stick It In shirt because we are in the thick of things with Virginia Tech football season. Tomorrow is the Battle at Bristol, where Virginia Tech will be taking on the Tennessee Volunteers at Bristol Motor Speedway. So it's officially going to be the largest attended college football game in history. And yeah, I will be there for sure. Sorry to all of my Michigan fan friends. I guess that makes more sense. But we will be beating out the attendance record for the Big House, which I'm kind of excited about. So yeah, so if you've got nothing to do tomorrow night, I know Saturday night, nobody has anything going on Saturday nights, right? Tune into College Game Day. We are going to... So we're taking a bus to Bristol because it's too far from the house in Blacksburg to justify, like, driving after the game. It's a lot safer that way. Let's just put it that way. Tailgating, you know. So we're taking a bus to Bristol, and our bus is parked on the opposite side of the speedway from game day. So I'd really like to try to get over there to get on game day. I'd really like to, jump on camera because it's kind of my thing. But I don't know if that's going to happen. So we shall see. So yeah. So what's been happening these last couple of weeks? Beyond the recording struggles, let's see, the Sunday after my last video, we went up to DC to go to brunch with my brother for his birthday. And I don't think I mentioned it previously, but we actually went to a drag brunch. So it was hosted by Perry's in DC. Highly suggest you look it up. It was so much fun. But there's a lot of, it's a show of drag queens, and it was so much fun. The things that they can do in heels, I can't even walk in heels. It was so fun. Highly suggest that if you're in the DC area, you check it out. Not for families, though. Not for families. Don't take your kids to the show. For rather obvious reasons. Let's see. Then this past weekend was the first Virginia Tech football game, so we went down to Blacksburg. And for the first time ever, we got everybody from my in-laws and myself, like the whole family, at one game at one time, including all 4 of my nieces and nephews on Danny's side. So that was kind of cool. Super cool was so one of the guys that tailgates with us, his son works for a very large coal company, I think, one of the biggest in the area, and gave our tailgate friend's son his what am I trying to say? Private room to watch the game. And so our tailgating friend had some extra passes, some extra guest passes, and gave them to us. So we got to go up into like this private box. There's unlimited food, unlimited drinks, air conditioning, shade. That was a big deal because it was a hot game. I don't think we were expecting it to be that hot. I certainly wasn't. But it was hot. And so for the second half, we actually sat in our seats for the first half. And then the second half, we went up to go join the party up there. And it was so cool. Seriously, so cool to see how the other half lives. The whole time we're there, Danny's like, if we win the lottery tonight, we're buying one of these. And it's like $1,500 a game plus the cost of tickets. Like it's not, it's for the wealthy. But it was very cool. Yeah, that was cool. So then came back on Sunday. I broke out like I do with my skin issues that I get sometimes when we go down to Blacksburg. Finally on the mend here, so yeah. What else? I feel like it's been like a year, and so I have so much to update you on, but it's only been 2 weeks, and I still have so much to update you on. I guess that's it. We'll call it there. So I have like 1,000,001 projects to show you because the last time that I recorded was in the middle of my week 4, and now I've worked on all those plus some more. So I'm going to get to those, and I'm going to try to do semi-quickly because I am still kind of getting over this cold, and so my voice isn't quite all the way there yet. I don't know if you can hear that frog a little bit. But before we do, my last video garnered a whole lot of questions, and so I thought that I would take a few minutes to go through and answer those questions. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my notes here. So I'm just going to do a quick little Q&A session here, and this might become a regular thing. So if you have any questions for me, go ahead and ask them, and I'll bring this back. So I answered this first question directly to the person, but just in case there was anybody else that was curious, Gidley's Cottage asked, your long dog sampler on the 28 count cashel, I wrote castle, cashel linen, are you stitching that 2/2 or 1/1? And that I am stitching 2/2. You'll be seeing a picture here just to remind you of what that looks like. That is Opus 2, and I'm stitching it 2 threads over 2 threads of fabric. Lil Miss Weasley asked, love your YouTube handle, by the way. She asked, why is April so sparkly? And she's referring to April by Anna Dittman, my Heaven and Earth design. I will show you April here in a second, and I can explain that once we get to that point. Stephanie Messenger is her sister-in-law is Shannon Messenger, who's the author of the Keeper of the Lost City series. And Stephanie, I have heard of those books. That's awesome. I haven't read them. I haven't picked up the first one just yet, but they have been on my radar for a while. I know that they are typically classified as middle grade fantasy, which is not usually in my wheelhouse, but I do nonetheless like to check out that genre every now and again. And I have heard really good things about Keeper of the Lost City, so I'm definitely gonna put that higher up on my TBR. It's very cool. Okay, let's see here. I Heart Cross Stitch Andrea. She's asking her questions with regards to my Pumpkin Patch Farm sampler by the Victoria Sampler. She wants to know if I think that the DMC conversions would look okay. And I'll probably talk about this in more detail once I show that project, but yeah, I do think that a DMC conversion would look really, really quite nice for that design. Here's why I say that. Normally I wouldn't for projects that call for a lot of silks. However, the Pumpkin Patch Farm Sampler calls for an awful lot of NPI silks as well as Krennic Silk Mori. And those are not variegated. I wouldn't even necessarily call them tonal. They're pretty solid. So a conversion to DMC would be super easy. Now there are a couple that are variegated, but I'm pretty sure that even the DMC variegated line probably has something that you could use in place of for the variegated. So but I'll talk about that more in detail once I pull that project out. She also asked if I know where she might be able to locate the DMC conversions for that project. You know what? I have the pattern right here. Let me see if it's listed here. Okay, so it's not listed here. It's not listed on the pattern. So I'm not sure where that might be. Might be on the Victoria Sampler website. So once I'm done recording here, I will look that up, and I will, if I find something, I will link it in the description box. Otherwise, if it comes down to it, Andrea, and I can provide you with the thread numbers so that you can then find conversions to do that. So we'll figure out a way if you're looking to do it in DMC. I love the project as it stands with the silks, but totally understand wanting to go DMC sometimes. Lindsay Weimer, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She said that there is an app that accompanies the book Night Film by Marisha Pessel. I had no idea, so I will be looking into that. Perhaps a little early, but I haven't been reading it, so I'm not too far gone to get a hold of that app. I will say that while reading it, I did notice that there are some of the, so it's a mixed media book, and I've noticed that some of the extras have this little symbol of like an ink blot raven bird looking thing. And I wondered if that was related to something. So I'm definitely going to have to look into that app. That's very cool. I love books that are super interactive. I love this direction that the books are going. Of course, I love traditional, just read it cover to cover, but nonetheless. Judy Egan asked if the September books for a Stitcher's Book Club were selected, and they have been. And they are Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel or Mantel, and Disillusion by C.J. Sansom. I did put up the discussion thread for Wolf Hall today, and the threads for discussion for Dissolution are going up this afternoon once I get finished recording here. So yeah. On the same vein, Brenda Greer asks, how do you join a Stitcher's Book Club? you follow the GoodReads link that will be in the description box down below. I will also reply to your comment on my last video with that link so that you have direct access to it. But you go on there and it shows you very limited options because I do have the group closed currently. So all you have to do is hit request and I will approve you. Live Free or Stitch? Are you doing Loopy Academy this semester? I don't know. I absolutely loved the projects for freshman year for Loopy Academy. For those who don't know, Loopy Academy, it's a knitting event, we'll call it. It's hosted by the Loopy U, which is a yarn shop based out of Fort Collins, Colorado. And it's essentially, it follows the school year, so we have different semesters. I did freshman year, and within the last couple of weeks they announced the parameters for junior year semester 1. The good news is you don't have to follow a timeline, like you don't have to do freshman year when they had the parameters for freshman year. You can do freshman year this year. The projects for sophomore year semester 1. So I'm trying to go in order as best I can. The projects for sophomore year semester 1. Something with cables, no problem. Something textured, no problem. And a pillow. I tried to knit a pillow about this time last year, actually. I started Loopy Academy's sophomore year, semester 1 last year. And the pillow, I just lost steam on it. So I'm thinking about giving it a try again and going in the opposite order. So I'm not going to do the pillow first, or maybe I should. No, because what I'm going to make for the cabled and the textured ones, I know I'll wear and I know that I'll love. So even if I don't succeed in Loopy Academy this semester, that's fine. No big deal. So I guess the answer to your question, Live Free or Stitch, is yes. I guess I will be participating in Loopy Academy. And then I do apologize. I hope that I'm not mispronouncing this, but I have a feeling that I might. Liga Vasara Brockmain? I'm so sorry. She asked, how does this Haid challenge, referring to the current Haid challenge, challenge number 3, how does it differ from the first challenge? That was parking as well, right? So this third challenge is parking. It's parking across rows, but you so you have to stitch the row and then work your way down. The first challenge, I suppose that you could have parked in order to achieve that, but you didn't necessarily have to. Take, for instance, mine. So just a quick recap, I brought it over here. I started with Personal Sunshine by Jeremiah Kettner. And this was a new start for this challenge. This challenge was to stitch 10 of the 10 by 10 blocks. However, they could not touch except by the corners. So effectively, you could end up with this checkerboard style. Or I know some people stitched a diagonal line of 10 by 10 blocks. So it all just came down to preference. Well, I ended up doing more of a checkerboard. And I really liked this challenge because this first page is a lot of black. And so I focused on my 10 by 10 blocks are all black. So it was really simple for me because I didn't have to park. I didn't have to manage threads all over the place because I was just filling in 10 by 10 blocks of black. And I ended up using anchor black for this because there is so much black, so I just wanted some really good coverage. And so that was the first challenge. I know that there are some people who would stitch one of these blocks and then park all of their threads underneath, and they would carry that same thing across for all of the blocks. but it wasn't mandatory. You didn't have to park. This one, you have to park. You have to leave threads hanging off the front. So yeah. So that was challenge 1. And that is all of the questions. Like I said, there were quite a few. So thanks everybody for asking your questions and for, for asking them. And I guess we'll keep this ball rolling. If you have questions, ask them below. I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, steal a quick sip here. We are back in the VT Turbis with a little raspberry lemonade Crystal Light. Okay. Oh, so many projects. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go in order of things that I worked on. My rotation got all sorts of wacky at the end of August because when I recorded my last video that Wednesday, I didn't get to stitch until very late. And then the next day, I wanted to make up for the lack of progress on my Heaven and Earth designs from the day before. So this just kind of snowballed, and by the end of August, I was working on 2 or 3 projects a day just to stay caught up, just to make sure that I got through the end of my rotation in a week, in that week. So this is in order that I stitched them, but it's not necessarily day by day. Okay. So the first thing that I worked on was my Not Quite White work. This is by Northern Expressions Needlework, and you will be seeing a preview here of what that will look like finished. A much better one than the one that I put up last week. Sorry, it was so cropped. You will also be seeing a preview of what it looked like last time. So I am stitching this on 36 count cream Edinburgh linen. I am using the autumn colors of this design, and I made some pretty good progress. So I've already folded this one up because it's so big that I just had to make sure I had it ready to go for you. So what I worked on was I carried some of the herringbone down here, I think. Maybe not. That might have always been there. Not quite sure. But I know that I did this double herringbone in between those two bands. And then I got to work on the next specialty stitch section, which is, I can't remember what she calls it, but it's essentially, it's a lattice stitch that's then tacked down. So the gold was done first, and it's in these really super long legs. And then over top are those itty bitty teeny tiny little red stitches that cross over the intersection of those long gold threads, so it tacks it down. So what you get is teeny tiny little red stitches with little bits of gold popping out underneath. Super pretty. I absolutely love it. And I know that I can't get it to show on camera the way that I want it to because of my camera limitations, but you're just gonna have to trust me. It's gorgeous. It's tedious. It takes a long time. They're tiny stitches, but it's so pretty. So this project I actually used both for my whip for the day as well as for the Stitch Mania Mellow Yellow. Yes, Mellow Yellow Color a Day Challenge on the 24th of August. Because gold is yellow. So there is that. Every time I pull this project out, I'm so excited to get a chance to work on it because it's so beautiful. This one might have to be, I don't know, some kind of focus next year. I'm starting to panic a little bit because it's September, which means it's practically next year already. Oh, so dramatic. Anyway, so that is that. Okay, next project I worked on, it is my November quilt by Paula Vaughn. And this is coming from the Quilts for All Seasons book. This one right here. I finally have it with me. And the November quilt is this one right here. So with the pumpkins and the, I can't remember the style of the quilt, but with the maple leaves hanging out over the wagon there. Oh, so pretty. Let me see if I can pull up the bigger one. Yeah. Really gorgeous. Love this piece. Love it. Okay. So you'll be seeing a preview here of what it looked like the last time I showed it to you. This I am stitching on 32 count cream Belfast linen by Zweigart. And I made some pretty good progress. Nothing, nothing too extensive, but it's definitely visible that there's some progress. I'm just going to fold it up so that I can bring it in close. So I finished up what I'm calling the watermelon border, because it looks like watermelon with watermelon seeds. And there even looks like a rind with the green on the outside. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not, but there we go. And then I worked on some of the inside of the quilt on that like color that barely contrasts the fabric. But nonetheless, made some progress on my November quilt. And so yeah, there's that. This is one of the ones that I think I worked on it on Thursday, the day that I was supposed to, so the 25th. But I didn't work on it for nearly long enough. And the reason is because my Heaven and Earth Designs, my Heaven and Earth Designs challenge sort of took me over. So the project that I was working on for challenge number 3 is April by Anna Dittman. And you'll be seeing a preview here of what it looked like the last time I showed it to you. This I am, of course, stitching on my favorite for Heaven and Earth Designs, and it is the 25 count antique white Lugano from Zweigart. And super exciting news, guys! Challenge done. I finished my second page. So excited. So, let me fold this up a little bit. So there it is, all done. Now, Miss Weasley, you will notice that there's no more sparkly in here. And if there is, well, there shouldn't be. So the sparkly that you were seeing on my last video there was my gridding. The gridding that I use is it's Sulky Sliver, and I use silver. I found that the green will dye the fabric. I've heard that the red dyes the fabric. And I haven't tried blue or any other colors. So I just use silver to grid my Heaven and Earth Designs. And I'll show you that here in a little bit because I'm working on Haid right now. But yeah. So I got the challenge done. I finished it actually on Friday. Friday the 26th. Danny went to go hang out with a buddy, and so I finished up the challenge. Super happy about it. So this dark section down here, this is like a piece of her hair that's kind of framing her face, and that's the shadow underneath that hair. So I'm talking about this right here. Love it. So happy. I absolutely adored this style of stitching. It's like a game changer for me, because I'm now stitching like all of my Haids like this, because it was a row and then working the way down. and I really enjoyed it. So there's April by Anna Dittman, and this will go away for a while. Maybe until the next challenge, maybe until it comes back up in the rotation. Not sure yet. But I was so happy to get that challenge done because it meant that here in September for my week 2, I got to move on in my Heaven and Earth Designs rotation, and I got to work on something else. So, really love that. And I have newfound love for that project. After page 1, I almost trashed the project, if I'm honest, because I just did not like the cross country style. It's not me. It's not me. So yeah. Anyhow. Okay. Next project that I worked on was my Prairie Schooler alphabet. So on the 26th of each month, we have the Now I Know My ABCs. It's hosted by Kate in the Queen of Starts in Cross Stitch Finish Line. And as you will know, I'm working on the Prairie Schooler alphabet. So for August, our letter was C. So I got started on C is for cow. You'll be seeing a preview here of what that looked like last time. And I am stitching this 1/2. That will mean something to you in a minute. 1/2 on 40 count platinum Newcastle linen. So I will just go ahead and show you progress that I made. So yeah, not a whole lot. Part of that was because of the Heaven and Earth Designs Challenge obsession. Part of that was because I forgot that I'm stitching this 1/2. And when I went to go do this leg right here, I was stitching it 2/2. And I'm like, why is this so thick? I don't remember it being this thick. And I'm looking over here, and I'm like, it doesn't look like that. Did I just randomly pull like a super fluffy thread? What's going on? Oh yeah, I'm stitching it 1/2. There. So I had to rip it out and then restitch it with one strand. And then I really felt like getting into some color because I've been working with 3371 for so long. So I just gave up on the C and decided to work on some of the leafy bits, I guess. So that's that. And as you guys will know, I'm doing 3 of these pieces of fabric, each with 9 of the letters on each. So on the 26th of September, I'll come down here and start the DEF. D is for drum. So there's that. Love that. I really wanted to work some more on A is for anchor, but I just ran out of time. There was just no time. Saturday, oh yeah, that was one thing. Saturday, we decided to get up super early and go to the DMV. Yeah, so there's 3 hours that I'll never get back. So we had to go to bed kind of early on Friday so that we could get up and try to get there as early as possible. Anyway. Okay, so next is a project that I'm not quite sure what it is. Oh yeah, okay. So this is my Oriental paper lanterns was my next project that I worked on. And Oriental paper lanterns is, it was a Mania start, and the issue and designer's name is escaping me, so I will insert it down here for you. I am stitching this on 32 count cream Belfast linen, and you'll be seeing a preview here of what it looked like the last time I showed it to you, as well as what it will look like finished. And here's the progress that I made. So I'm pretty pleased with what I did. You can definitely see that there's like a fold here because the color difference between the, like, on either side of that center line there. And then I worked some of this pinky color down the edge, so that's pretty much like the extent of the paper lantern itself. That's about the size. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased. I mean, you know, not a whole ton of progress, but hey, it's stitched. There we go. So there is that. Oriental paper lanterns. Okay. Next, I have something really cool. So my next project is Pretty Little New York by Satsuma Street. You'll be seeing a preview here of what it will look like finished, as well as a preview of what it looked like last time. And I don't even know why I said preview of what it looked like finished. I'm sure you saw my smirk just there, because I can show you what it looks like finished. I got it done. How exciting. So this was not a finish in the same day. I worked on this a couple of days, but I got so close to finishing that I just decided to stick it out with this project and get it done. And I did. One of the colors in this piece is number DMC 809. And I was 100% 86 809. For anybody that's ever worked in a restaurant, then you'll know what 86 means. It means I was totally out. Could not find any. I didn't have any leftovers in my leftover box. I didn't have any extra skeins. I didn't have any... My fantasy style calls for that color, I didn't have any in that. I was in a major panic. I found 2 strands of DMC number 809 on my In This Moment by Jeremiah Kettner, my Heaven and Earth design. So my lengths for Heaven and Earth designs are short. So I basically had equivalent of 1 length for this project to use to get this done. Talk about thread chicken. That was close. But I got it done. Isn't she pretty? I absolutely love New York. Don't you? I'm so excited. And I have my little signature down here, disguised as an apple. So that is a Jessica stitch done there in red, and then the S in the center is done in green, as well as the leaf on top and the year in Roman numerals there. I thought, wow, New York is referred to as the Big Apple, and this is Pretty Little New York, so it needed a little apple. Oh, so happy with this, you guys. I absolutely adore this. I admit it made me get a little wanderlust because I just wanted to go to New York. Once I finished it, I wanted to sneak up to the city, take a picture with my finish in Times Square. Did not do that. Anyway, so excited. So this is finished number 12? 11 or 12, something like that. 11 or 12. I don't remember. Quite a few finishes this year. And this is my first one that's like pretty decent sized. So I started this in March. Fabric is 32 count cream Belfast. Oh, so pretty. One thing that I would stress is that I goofed up the colors, so it's not 100% accurate. There are 2 shades of gray, a dark gray and a lighter gray, and I accidentally swapped them for the bridge as well as for the Chrysler building down here on the bottom. Oops. But that's okay. It's, you know, it's modern art style, so it's okay if the colors are a little wonky. Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. So that's my pretty little New York. Okay. Whew. Still more to go. We're almost there. Not quite, but almost. Okay, so up next was my Primrose Carrot. This is a freebie design by the Cricut Collection. It will be linked below. Sorry I didn't get to that link last time. But it will be linked below this time, rest assured. I don't have a preview image of what this will look like finished because there isn't one. This is the Cricut Collection freebie through the end of the year, so go ahead and download it if you're interested. It's kind of like a little mystery. You will, however, be seeing a preview of what it looked like last time. And last time was just my Mania start. Now, I am stitching this on a 28 count Jobelin in lamb's wool by Witchelt. And here's the progress that I made. So, pretty good progress, I think. The hearts or leaves up here are outlined in a paler green. Then I worked some of the black down here and put in those leaves. So some good progress. Not a ton because I think this was the start of the days where I was working on a couple projects in one day, which is a little insane. So there's that. I don't love Jobelin, if I'm honest. I don't love 28 count even weave in general, just because I don't know, it looks a little sparse. Now it looks better now, but it looked really stretched and really sparse when it was on my Millennium, which is kind of what I like about the Millennium. It really pulls the fabric open, so it definitely looks better off the frame, in my opinion. So there's that. Okay, next. Pumpkin Patch Farm Sampler. I did some good things this go around with this project. So here's what Pumpkin Patch Farm Sampler by the Victoria Sampler will look like finished. And here's a preview of what it looked like last time. And just for reference, I was working on the pumpkin patch itself, and then this little band in here, and then the little specialty stitch band underneath it. And I got all three of those bands done. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty! Okay, so I'm going to fold and zoom on the relevant bands. So you can see that the pumpkin patch is all done. I finished up all of the vines, both the stitching as well as the back stitch. And yes, that is a lot of back stitch. Every pumpkin is outlined, and every pumpkin has a couple of vines coming off of it. So it was a lot of back stitch, but it went quick. Like it didn't bother me in the slightest. Yeah, I actually kind of enjoyed that. And then you can see the kids in here, Pinkin and Pumpkin. So we've got this little boy right here who's actually got his hands on the pumpkin. And then the little girl, she kind of looks like a baby with like a diaper that's way too full. That's what I kept thinking, like, girl, time to get your diaper changed. Anyway, so there's that. What else did I want to say about this? Nothing about that band. And then the band underneath it. Okay, the band underneath it is called Cat, Chickens, and Daisies. So this is where I kind of lamented the fabric that I chose. This is 32 count I determined what it was. I believe it's Winter Moon. I should have gone darker. And I didn't think that until I got down to the daisies. So you can see the daisies. I mean, they're daisies. So the petals are kind of lost because this fabric is pretty light. But in person, you can see it. So it's okay. And then we have the chickens, which are super cute. They are approximately, let's see, approximately 8 stitches. And then several stitches for backstitch. 5 colors. 5 colors in those teeny tiny little chickens. But nonetheless, super adorable. And then we get to the cat. Y'all, this ain't a cat. It's a squirrel. Yeah, that's a squirrel. But it was charted to be a cat. I followed directions. And you can even see on the preview, it looks like a squirrel. So I posted this big debate on several groups. And I'm like, you be the judge. Is that a cat or a squirrel? And several people were like, well, if it was a cat, it'd be chasing the chickens. So it must be a squirrel. I love that. I love that the natural order of things help people make those decisions. So it can't be a cat because it doesn't look like a cat. But also, if it was, it'd be chasing chickens. Anyway, so there's that. And then this specialty stitch band down here, it is a modified triple rice stitch, which basically just means you make these gigantic X's with the green, and then you make a bunch of tiny legs over top of the bottom legs with the variegated color. So there's that. Those 3 bands are done. Oh, how pretty. Big fan. Really enjoying this. So Andrea, this is kind of what I was talking about. There are, it's mostly solids, if not semi-solids. The only one that I can think of, there's 2, but the one isn't really a big deal. Let's see here. So the variegated that I used for the modified triple rice, that is a Gloriana silk. I can't remember which one I got. But nonetheless, I'm pretty sure that you could find an autumny DMC color variation if you wanted to use the DMC, or you could splurge on that silk. The waffle stitch up here is in a tonal green. So, you could just use a regular DMC for that, or a tonal green, if you had one of a different variety or something. So, definitely, this is a project that you can definitely do with DMCs. Now, one thing that I will advise, and this was asked on Instagram, can you do this project on Ada? And my best recommendation is no. Because there is so much of this that is charted 1/1 that you could probably modify. There is, I was thinking about this while I was working through the pumpkin patch. A lot of those vines, the thread doesn't go into like a natural Ada hole. So effectively you were stabbing through the middle of a square of a standard stitch space. You're going right through the middle of it. There are quarter stitches. There are that waffle stitch there at the top. That goes into every single hole on a linen. I can't even imagine trying to do that on an Ada. That would not only drive me crazy, but like broken needles. I would not advise doing this project on an Ada. I get it that eyesight doesn't stick around with us for long, especially when we're working in small details like this. But I would not suggest an Ada for this project. There's just too many tiny stitches to really justify it. So there's that. Ooh. It looks like the model stitcher didn't finish the back stitch on the pumpkins. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but these pumpkins over here, they don't look backstitched. That's funny. So anyway, I got a lot of love for this project when I shared it on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram, and thank you guys so much for that. I am wholeheartedly in agreement. It's beautiful. It's so little. Like every time I pull this project out, I'm like, oh, it's tiny. It's not a very big band sampler. So there we go. Oh, that was one other thing that I wanted to address. Sarah Shears asked me if about my thoughts on the accessory pack, because I bought the thread pack. And I had my very particular drama with the thread pack, which I've gone over with you guys a few times on this project. And while I had my struggles with it, I would still recommend the accessory packs because of this. When you buy those accessory packs, they give you what you need. So if you are somebody who's on a thread budget, then you don't have to buy a whole skein of a thread that you're going to use for one specialty stitch band. So that's a really big benefit of the accessory pack. And not only that, but I mean, the accessory pack is not cheap by any means. I mean, it's still silks. So I think the accessory pack was $70. But if I had to buy whole skeins of everything, we're looking at $100 plus easily, because there are several MPIs, several Glorianas. Krennic Silk Moria is a pretty reasonable thread. There's a couple Dinky Dyes. But yeah, there's like 8 NPIs. Those are pricey threads. So, I would still recommend the accessory pack. I had my very particular drama with it. I think that there was some thoughtlessness involved in the packaging of the accessory pack, at least in my particular instance. But nonetheless, if you're looking at doing one of these Victoria samplers, go for the accessory pack if you don't want to spend gobs on threads. One other thing that I did mention, some people say, well, if you buy a whole skein of, say for instance, NPI Brick Red, and you only use it for a few stitches, then you've got that whole skein left over. But I'm not somebody who substitutes very often, so that thread would really just sit in my stash. It's part of the reason why Stitchy Box and I don't get along, because they would send some beautiful threads, and I wouldn't have a clue what to do with them. And I feel guilty about having beautiful threads that just sit in my stash. You know what I'm saying? So that's why the accessory pack works for me, because I won't have gobs and gobs extra lamenting over what the heck I'm going to do with it. So that's my rant on the accessory pack. Go for it if you're looking at doing a Pumpkin Patch Farm sampler and you feel like I do, or don't. Totally up to you. But I liked it. Even with my dramas. Okay. This next project. Okay. So, August the 31st, my project for the day was Queen Anne's Lace. This is by Nora Corbett. It is from the Just Cross Stitch April 2016 issue. And I struggled with this project this go round. So you'll be seeing a preview here of what it will look like finished, as well as what it looked like last time. I am stitching it on Crystal Wren by Picture This Plus. It's a 28 count, yes, opalescent linen. And here's my progress. Do you guys notice any glaring issues between this and the preview that I showed you? Yeah, there was frogging. There was frogging. So I decided to work on some skin. Now, at the beginning, I had the white, some greens, and some pinks. So I decided to work my way up and work on some skin. This is on an opalescent fabric, so I was going to try to, really what my goal was to work on some skin so that I could work out to the wings, because in the wings is the krennic. And so I was trying to use this for all that glitters in Stitch Mania as my last project for that. So I thought, if I'm working a krennic on sparkly fabric, hey, we got this. So I figured out that this skin here, now I'm stitching the skin 1/1, as I do, had to be above this white section here. However, this white section used to be over here, or over here, something like that. I accidentally used this white piece right here as my anchor and counted up from there. So I get down here and periodically I check to make sure that I'm on the right track. Well, this time I didn't, because I'm like, it's so small, like I'm not gonna mess this up. So counted down and realized that I was over top the wrong part, and I was coming down too low over top the wrong part. So I am not about that life, ripping out skin 1/1. Once I have committed myself to stitching the skin 1/1, those stitches are going in and they're permanent. They are not coming out. So I had to rip out all of the progress that I had made for Mania. And then I restitched some of the white. You can see the ghost of the stitches the ghost of stitches past, shall we say. So I ripped all of the white and the pink and the green that I had done, and then restitched that bit of white. And then put this project down because... So that's that. Womp, womp, womp. But, you know, it's okay. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes the universe reminds you that you're not as good as you think you are. I had no business being that cocky. So, anyway. One thing that I have decided about this project, Queen Anne's lace. I have decided that Queen Anne's lace is actually Queen Anne's lace. In other words, the person's name is Anne's lace, and she's a queen. She's a drag queen, actually. So I do owe part of this to the fact that I was just at a drag bunch, but one thing about this design that always kind of, like, it made me feel kind of funny. Now, it didn't make me feel funny, but it's just like, well, that's a really weird design feature. She's an Adam's apple. I'm gonna insert a picture here and try to zoom in on that part so you can see that there is like a definitive extra bit in her throat that looks like an Adam's apple. Not to mention, her feet are huge, and her hands, like her biceps. She's got like manly biceps. So this is Queen Anne's lace, and she is all dressed up for a show. And she's drag queen. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. You're welcome. Mirabilia Drag Queens. Uh, when it dawned on me that that looked like an Adam's apple to me, I couldn't get it out of my head. So, there we go. And that was the end of August. We are an hour in, and I have just finished up my whips for August. It is now the 9th of September, and I haven't even talked about the projects that I've worked on this month yet. I knew this was going to be a long one. But I think you guys did too. So, let's switch gears and we'll talk about September. I'm going to talk about my plans for September, and then I'll show you what I've worked on thus far. So my plans for September. As you know, in my rotation, my week 1 is my Sal's week. So that would be Frosted Pumpkin, Pumpkin Passport, Lakeside Needlecraft, Doreen Jones Fantasy Stitch Along, Clouds Factory Postcards from the World, and my Cricut Collection monthly month Sal. So, right off the bat, my monthly month Sal is on hold. And the reason for that is really just, it's more of a financial decision. Denny is our sole breadwinner right now. And I am looking at going back to work, but I have to be spendy conscious. And adding another project is not, it's not cost effective and it's not whip effective, if I'm totally honest. I want to whip down. And I mean, you know, I go through these phases all the time where I'm like, I want to start everything. Okay, I want to finish everything. Right now, I want to whip down. I want to make big progress on projects that I love. I want to make big progress on all of my projects. I want to supersede 16 finishes for 2016. And I'm on track to do that right now, which is great. So I've just been very reflective about my stitching. And the starts is not my focus right now. So, my monthly month Sal is on hold until next year. October might still happen this year because I am obsessed with that design. I mean, I love October. Who doesn't love October in the Northern Hemisphere? And I think even in the Southern Hemisphere appreciates October because springtime. I love October, and I love that design. So that one might still be happening. But other than that, monthly month is on hold. So we're down to 3 Sals. Fantasy, Passport, Postcards. Week 2 is my Week 2 is my Heaven and Earth Designs week. Since I finished April by Anna Dittman, I got to switch projects this go around. And week 3 is my focus for a finish. So one of my focus 8 or my final 8. And then week 4 is my alphabetic rotation, just all over again. So I'm finding that this rotation is working for me. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. In addition, Stitch Mania also has their month-long stitch along, which, scarily appropriate, is World of Pure Imagination. And I'm sure that many of you know that Gene Wilder passed away, and World of Pure Imagination is one of the most recognizable lines from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So yeah. I affectionately refer to that stitch along as WOPI, or WOPI, because World of Pure Imagination, W-O-P-I, WOPI. So I had picked the parameters for this stitch along are projects that sort of open up your imagination. So it could be fantasy, it could be book related, it could be fandom related, it could be It's just something that kind of sparks your imagination. And very loose parameters. So the 4 projects that I had originally picked are changed. So now the 4 projects are as follows. Week 1, Fantasy Sal by Lakeside Needlecraft Doreen Jones. I figure I'd work on that all week and try to work down some of the border. Week 2, Heaven and Earth Designs Faces of Fairy. 201 artwork by Jasmine Beckett Griffith. It's a fairy. Week 3, Persephone by Mirabilia. And I mean, Persephone is mythological. There's lots of lore and whatnot related to her, as well as adaptations across cultures. That's imagination if ever I've heard of it. And then week 4, Rose Fairy by Joan Elliott. So those are my 4 as it stands. Okay, what else? September the 1st was supposed to be the All Aboard the Hogwarts Express. And I'm sorry guys, I'm getting the sun coming in, so I'm getting some more glare. Try to prevent that as best I can. All Aboard the Hogwarts Express, so something Harry Potter related. I had planned on doing the Gryffindor Crest by Glazoff Patterns, but that ended up not happening because I got laser focus on my Fantasy Sal by Lakeside Needlecraft Doreen Jones. So, let's just go ahead and get started. Week 1. Of course I started with this because it released at about 7 o'clock my time. So, this is what this block looked like. Sweet little wizard. So cute. And you'll be seeing a preview here of what it looked like the last time I showed this project to you. I am stitching this on 32 count Heroic Belfast Linen by Picture This Plus. And in about, 12 hours, I finished the block. I was obsessed. So this was my submission, effectively, for the All Aboard the Hogwarts Express. We are getting some serious sunlight right through that window. Now, one thing you will notice is that I stitched his skin 1/1. Hence the reason it took me so long, because skin 1/1 takes a little while. So pleased with that. Now, you will notice that my progress on the borders, 0. That's because a couple of reasons. First of all, okay, so this block I worked on Thursday and I finished it up on Thursday. Then Friday I got almost 0 stitching time because we were packing up and getting ready to go down to Blacksburg. All weekend I got almost no stitching time because Blacksburg. Sunday we get back and I decided to start working on my next stitch along to focus on that and get that done. So I ended up not working on anything else that day. By Monday, I was working on another one. So effectively this just never, it didn't have a chance. I'm showing you the back there. But it just didn't have a chance for me to get any further work on it because I got so laser focused on the other stitch along. So, but that's okay. I made some progress and I'm pleased. And he's so cute. So cute. So I will have some work to do before the next block because the next block is down here. But that's okay. So that's the Fantasy Sal. Absolutely love this. Everybody was like, Jess, you're so fast. How did you finish that block so quick? And I'm like, I'm a stay-at-home wife. So, yeah. So there's that. So, like I said, Sunday we get back from Blacksburg. I got to stitching it around 2 o'clock, I think, by the time we got home and unpacked and started all of the things that you do when you get back from vacation. So I got started working on my Clouds Factory Postcards from the World. This is on a 28 count cashel linen in Monet from Picture This Plus. And these stitches are huge as compared to the ones for the Fantasy Sal. So, preview here of what it looked like the last time. This month we were in Tokyo. And I got it done. Same day. I got that finished up on Sunday. And I love this block. I don't know what it is about this block. I mean, Japanese culture is always, it's interesting to me, but it's like not on my top places to go. And I don't know why, but it's just not. But this block is so beautiful. I don't know if it's the fabric, like my fabric choice really helped that shine. Look at me. I'm like, my fabric choice. But I can't get over how delicate and floral and pretty it is. So pretty. Magnifico. I absolutely love the character on this one. The little hair accessories and even the shoes. Just adorable. And the bonsai tree, so pretty. So, big fan of that. And so we just have one more row left to go. And then this will be done. And I'm going to show you real quickly what the top 9 look like. I love this one. This brings me so much joy. Okay, so that brings me to my next one. My next sal is the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery Pumpkin Passport. And the short end of it is my Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery Pumpkin Passport is in momentary, temporary, maybe even permanently hiatus. Don't know that I will finish this. So, I will show you the progress that I did make because on Monday, I pulled this out and started working on it. Monday was Labor Day. And so you will see that I did get some of it done. So here's the long version of why I'm not continuing with this, at least currently. I've been feeling kind of meh about this project for a while. I know I've expressed it a few times, but I also know that I mentioned that I don't care for the characters on Frosted Pumpkin patterns. I don't know why. I feel like people are going to be mad at me. It's too cutesy. It's too cutesy. And I feel like I'm contradicting myself because I love how cute the Postcards from the World is, but this just feels too cutesy. I think it's kawaii style. I think that's just not my thing. So I kept with it these last 2 months because the Egypt block, super adorable once you take out the sun. I did not love the sun. The India block, loved that. It has to be my favorite piece from this whole design. Russia's pretty, but I absolutely loved the India block. I love the perspective. I love the angle. Gorgeous. Love that. When this block came out, and it happens to be the exact same location as Postcards, which has happened once already in this. I found that I liked the Postcards one better. I do. Now, I do love the cherry blossom tree that's depicted in this one. But everything else about the Tokyo block for Postcards, I just like more than this one here. And so I'm stitching and I'm like, I'm not loving this. I'm not going to frame this one when it's done because I love the font that was used, but I don't like the sentiment. Let's go on an adventure. Okay, Dora, let's go on an adventure. That's what it makes me feel like. I could give it to my nieces and nephews because they're littles. And that might be cool. But I don't know. I'm not in love with this. And if I'm not in love with it, why am I spending so much time and energy on it? So I'm not. I'm not saying that I won't go back to this. I haven't unkitted it. It still has its own envelope. But I'm just not focused on it anymore. Who knows? Maybe at the end of the year I will go gangbusters on it again and feel like getting back to it. But I'm just not feeling it now. It's just not on par with my interests. Which is, I know, it sounds so contradictory because I loved Postcards. It's the same theme. But, you know, sometimes you feel something. That's what it is. So, yeah, put that away. Okay, I'm going to readjust here. Oh, yeah, I'm super matchy-matchy. I'm wearing pastel LuLaRoe leggings and Virginia Tech t-shirt. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I am a fashionista. No, not at all. Okay, quick sip. I'm starting to lose my voice. Danny's going to be home any minute now. Okay. So, let's put this story together. Monday. I finished my fantasy sale. I finished my postcard sale. I put Pumpkin Passport away, and I'm not working on my September monthly. My rotation weeks in September switch on Thursday. So, what am I going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Well, it's Labor Day. Danny's home. I'll ask Danny. Poor guy. He doesn't give a lick about cross stitch. But his opinion is asked quite often. So he's like, well, why don't you work on your hate challenge? I'm like, flip him upside the head. I finished that. I'm not working on the hate challenge. He's like, well, then why don't you work on one of your projects that you wanted to finish this year? And I'm like, all right, which one? He said Persephone, and I'm like, but there's so much skin. I was getting whiny. He's like, yeah, well, you're not going to finish the skin if you don't work on it. I'm like, good point. All right, fine. So I pulled out Persephone. If you are on Stitch Mania or Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, then you kind of already have an idea. You already knew that this was coming. So I pulled out Persephone. Persephone is designed by Mirabilia. I started this January 1st, 2015. Finished probably sometime in 2017. That's what I'm thinking. So yeah, there will be a preview here of what she looked like last time. She looked rather creepy. She still looks creepy, but like less so, more humanly. Because I worked on some skin for the last 3 days. Now this fabric is 32 count Tempest Belfast linen by Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And you can see it, she has a face. And a nose that doesn't look disproportionately huge as compared to her face. Her forehead doesn't look so long and flat. She has a chin. She has lips. She has a neck. She has one shoulder. She has the beginnings of another shoulder. I'm so pleased. So my big goal by working on this was that I wanted to fill out her face because it bothered me. She had that like concave, like no face. It was creepy. So I wanted to finish her face. And then I finished her face like on Monday. So I worked some more down her neck. And yeah, I'm stitching it 1/1 because I'm a nut. But it looks so good. It's totally worth it. Isn't she gorgeous? I'm reaching a point where I have to like lean back to show all of her in frame. Oh, guys, you guys, I'm obsessed. I'm so excited that I get to work on her next week. So yeah, there's Persephone. So pretty. I mean, I have so much work left to do, it's not even funny. So, for reference, you know what? Let's do this the easy way. For reference, I still have this side of her throat and collarbone and chest to fill in. Oh yeah, she has a whole other arm here. Oh yeah, the confetti that is her hair and the flowers in it. Pomegranate that looks more like an apple, but you know, whatever. And then wallpaper. And then approximately 3,000 beads. Yeah, I have a ton of work left to do for Persephone, but I'm super stoked by what I was able to get done in 3 days. And the last day, on Wednesday, I was feeling like poop on Wednesday. So I did the darkest shade right in there, and that's it. That's all I did, stitching-wise on Wednesday. Oh my god. Okay, I have to stop. So I'm going to fold her up and set her over here so that I am not... Just for you guys. Yeah, so that I'm not losing my mind over that project anymore. Love that. Love Persephone. Newfound obsession with Mirabilias. You know I love Mira. But that was like, that was huge to make that kind of progress. Okay. One last project to show. Are we getting down to the wire here? Kind of. Okay. Last project to show is my rotation piece for this week. So I'm currently in the midst of my week 2, and week 2 is Heaven and Earth Signs week. And my Whoppy piece for this week is the same. It's why I kind of formatted it this way, so that I don't have to switch projects at all this week. And I can just work on Faces of Fairy 201, aka Black Swan. This is a piece that I started for Stitch Mania, and you'll be seeing a preview here of what it looked like the last time I showed it to you. Effectively, all I had done was the very first column. So, go ahead and bring this over here. Ta-da! Ton of progress, guys. My needle minder there is a cameo Victorian zombie skeleton looking thing from Gina's Unique Boutique. And so what I have done is this. Oops, wrong way. That's all I've done. That's what I did yesterday. I haven't stitched yet today. It's 2:45 and I haven't stitched yet today. Yay. So, you remember how I mentioned that the Haid Challenge was a total game changer? There's the evidence. I have adapted that as my stitching method for Heaven and Earth. I really like it. Because this first row is going to take a while. Not going to lie, it's going to take a long time because I have to attach all of those colors into each block, therefore each column. But then after that, it zooms a little bit because when I get down to this block here, all I have to do is thread my needle with these threads and go. I don't have to look at my color key. I don't have to flip through my threads and find it. It's right there. So as long as I'm parking in the right location, we're good to go. Highlighters are my best friend. So there's that. Okay, so the reason that I didn't get a whole lot of stitching done yesterday is that when I kitted it up to start for Mania, I only kitted up the colors that I needed for that first column. Since I knew that I was going to be really sinking my teeth into this project this week, I had to kit up the rest. So I'm talking about this because this is ridiculous. I have to show this to you. These are all of the colors for Faces of Fairy 201 on one ring. This is ridiculous. I really need another ring, but I didn't have one, so all on one they went. So can you imagine? I need the symbol that's a black square. It's not 310 in this, which drives me a little bit bonkers. So I have to flip through all of this to try to find it. Yeah, that takes a while. But I just wanted to show you that one time. 87 colors all on one ring. Don't do that. If you can avoid it, don't do that. It's crazy. So that's it. And so that will be the projects that I work on, or the project that I work on up until next week. My plan is to be back next Wednesday on time so that I can update you guys. I expect that this video is extra long, but next week won't be so long because I'm just going to have 2 projects to show. Yeah, so okay, so I have just a couple more things to talk about. The first of which is haul. And haul is minimal. It is my fabric of the month by Under the Sea Fabrics. And this month it is Beach Walk. My subscription is a 32 count Belfast linen. And it is just a beautiful neutral. So when I first opened this, I thought, gosh, that looks an awful lot like Properly Primitive. And let me see if I can pull that out here. It's right here. So Properly Primitive is what I'm doing my, it's what my pumpkin passport is on. So you can definitely see that there is a difference between them. Beach Walk has got more of a red tone to it. So there's that. Love a good neutral. This, I don't know what it is yet, but nonetheless, there's Beach Walk. Okay, and so that's it for haul. Very, very light on the haul. The only thing that I've got coming in at all ever is Fabric of the Month, which I haven't mentioned it on my channel before, but I'm so excited. I got added on to the Hand-Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie Fabric of the Month, finally. So excited. I have been on the wait list for a very long time, and a few weeks ago Stephanie posted on her Facebook group, hey, I've got 5 spots. The first people to email me, you're in. I was late, but I secured another spot on the in conversation with her. I secured a spot on the wait list, and then she emailed me and she said, hey, I've added you, send me your info. I'm like, so excited. So, woohoo! Not only am I in, but I'm in just in time because the fabric of the month for this month is Valyrian Steel, Game of Thrones Heck yeah. Okay, so that's kind of a decent segue. Let's move into books. So the first thing that I kind of want to address as far as books is concerned is what I'm currently reading. I am currently reading Night Film by Marisha Pessl, and that's it. I have not finished The Quick and the Thread. I have temporarily shelved that because we are into September. I should be reading my September books. I haven't even finished my August books yet. I have to prioritize. So I'm prioritizing with Night Film. I'll get that read. I still don't have it with me because I keep forgetting that one. Excuse me. And then I'm going to move on to my September book club books because those have to take precedence. So, currently reading Night Film. Recently finished Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This was a reread. It was also an audiobook listen on Audible. It was narrated by Rosamund Pike. I always get that twisted up with Rosamund Hodge because Rosamund Hodge is a young adult author that I have in the front of my mind. Anyway, it's Rosamund Pike. Fantastic narration. It did remind me of something. One of the projects that I recently finished, the quote of the Pride and Prejudice quote, I am going to rip out the designation of Jane Austen because those are not her words. The quote is, "You have bewitched me body and soul." That is not in this book. It's not in the book. It is only featured in the Keira Knightley film. That was creative liberties taken by the writers of the movie. And so I don't want to showcase that Jane Austen wrote that when she didn't. The scene is still phenomenal in the book, but it's just not those words. So the long and short of it is that I'll be ripping that out and just finishing it with the quote without any designation. The other book that I recently finished is Allegiant by Veronica Roth. Now this is the third and final book in the Divergent trilogy. You will probably have seen the movie, maybe even for this. The movie was split into two parts. The second half of the movie will be a made-for-television movie, which is really quite annoying, but what are you going to do? It's how these movies make money anymore. So I decided to reread this because I read it when it first came out in 2014, I want to say. (2013). Wow. So I first read it in 2013, and I read it so fast that I didn't even remember it. I haven't seen the movie yet, the Allegiant Part 1. And I want to, but I wanted to make sure that I was fresh on what happened in the story. So I decided to reread it. I ended up listening to it on Audible because that's how I do rereads anymore. And it is narrated by two narrators whose names are escaping me, so they'll be listed down below. They were pretty good. They had a separate male and a separate female because this book is narrated both by Tris as well as by Four. It goes back and forth between the two. The narrator for Four, far, far better than the one for Tris. The other thing that kind of weirded me out is that, okay, so let's say it's a 4 chapter. So we've got this guy narrating, and then Tris says something during the 4 chapter. Instead of bringing in the actress to read the lines for Tris, the narrator for 4 just takes on a more feminine voice for Tris. It's really strange. It wasn't my favorite aspect, but, I understand they gotta do what they gotta do. So, final thoughts on this? I hated this book the first time I read it, and I kind of liked it this time around. I think it's because it's not so fresh in my mind. I think it's because it's not disappointing like it was the first time I read it, because Divergent was so good that this was a really big letdown. But this time around, that's not so fresh. I'm not so in it. I could go on a thesis about that, about like time between hype and interest in books. But I won't. So anyway, read Allegiant. If you haven't read the Divergent series, I highly recommend it. They are super fast-paced. They're high intensity. Veronica Roth wrote Divergent. I think she was 22 when it was published, and it exploded. And she's a really fantastic author. She writes action very, very well. So check that out. Okay, and the next book that I have to show you is the only book haul that I have, and it is also the next read. This is Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel, and this edition looks an awful lot different than anybody else's. I shouldn't say anybody else's, but the typical cover looks a little different. This is the HarperCollins Canada edition. I ordered this from Book Outlet, so I got it for, I think, like $7 shipped. Absolute steal. And it is a paperback edition. It's not a mass market paperback, so it's not tiny. It's good and floppy, so it lays open, which is a big deal to me. What else? Oh, deckled edges. The deckled edges. And here's something interesting. So the quotation marks are a single apostrophe, not the double. What is that? I mean, it's quotation mark is the two of them, right? So, but in this, it's a single. So I'm not sure if that's a Canadian literature thing, or because I know that that's common in UK published, but I found out that this one is Canadian, so, or it's not Canadian, but it's HarperCollins Canada. It's the Canadian division of HarperCollins. Long story short, it's a little different. It's going to take some getting used to with the different quotation marks, and from what I understand, is it this one? Yeah. From what I understand, this book uses the very vague preposition of he. So rather than specifying which he they're talking about, it's always he. But it is in reference to the main character because you're in his head. Anyway, so that is that. And so I will be picking this up soon. I noticed that on here it says Heather's pick. Heather Stitches? I know that it's not you, Heather Stitches. Book Outlet put that on there. I really hate those stickers. Oh, good. This one comes off easy. There. That's better. Okay. So, a pile of whips, a few books, tiny little bit of haul. I've rambled quite enough, and the glare is getting a little insane. So I'm going to end it off here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thanks for all of your support. Thanks for your well wishes while I was gone. I'm sorry for the lengthy absence, but you know, life, it happens. Sometimes we disappear and sometimes we don't have a choice about it. So I will sign off here and I will see you guys next week. Go Hokies. Happy stitching.